Welcome back. Today, once again, I am going to try to solve some puzzles on chess.com. I haven't done well lately, but I'm going to keep trying because in my experience, that's the only way that you get better at something is to continue to try. And yes, sometimes you should try differently if the way that you're doing it isn't working. And so I'm going to try to stick to my checklist much more carefully than I did in my past couple of videos, because when I stick to my checklist, I tend to do better. But sometimes when I fail a puzzle, it's just because I can't see what I'm supposed to see. And I think this is the puzzle that was at the end of my last video that I almost tried, but then I decided not to. So let's do the material count. We each have a rook, a queen, and a minor piece, and the pawns are close to even, so it's very even. So it might be about picking up a piece. That's a good question that might happen. Let's see, if I take the knight, and they take back, and I take their queen, and they come threaten my bishop, then I guess I could move the bishop, and then if they came down, then I could move my king over here to defend the bishop. And also from where my rook would be here, I guess I could, eventually pick off some pawns, maybe, I don't know. What else is there though? That's the only capture that I see just off the top of my head. Again, other than the rook, if I take the rook, I think we've determined they would take back, and then I'm not sure what I have at that point. There's not really a threat down here, I don't think, because they could take, and then, I don't have anything else. I think it's taking the knight, and I've spent 4 minutes. I think I've followed my checklist. I did the material count. The only tactical motif I can see is that there's only a queen defending that knight. My bishop can't really go anywhere right now. I did just realize that it could protect itself here, depending on how it all plays out. As usual, it's possible I'm missing something, but I'm going to take the knight. Oh, it was that. Well, then I have to take this. It's still going. It doesn't make sense to take the rook, because then I would just have a bishop for their queen. So this part seems really obvious. I'm going to take the queen. Okay, they did come after the bishop. Well, I talked about I could protect it here, but if I do that, then they have checkmate. So it's pretty obvious that it has to come back to e8. Nothing else makes sense. If they then threaten it again, I bring my king to protect it. Oh, they did do that. Well, if I don't bring my king to protect it, then they have checkmate. So this one also seems really obvious. Hopefully it actually is obvious. Let's do that. So the first move was the only hard one. All the rest were really obvious to me. Not a bad start. Let's go on to the next one. Hopefully I can keep up this kind of momentum. Now, again, I was going to do a material count, but the game has just started. It looks like all of our pieces are in place on the back rank, except my opponent who has just moved their first piece. So we moved a bunch of pawns, and then they moved this piece. And it looks like we both have all our pawns. I don't have any checks right now because I have a pawn blocking my queen's path to h4, and I don't have any other piece that can check, so their checks are out. The only capture that I have at the moment is this pawn right here, and if I take that, I assume they're going to take back, and then if I take with the bishop, then they have their queen over here. The only threat that I see is to push this pawn forward, which does allow my queen to come over here and check on h4, but I assume they have a way out of that. Let's see, what could they do? For example, if I pushed this pawn, my opponent might wonder why and see that I'm about to check. So they could, I was going to say they could move the knight here in preparation to block the check, but then that would leave the bishop undefended. So they probably wouldn't do that. What could they do? They could move the queen up one, which aims to block the check. What is another threat? Okay, I do have another threat. That is moving the queen up here to d5, which threatens their rook. Can they protect the rook? Yes, they can. They can put their queen right here, which is protected by the knight. Then I could take the queen, and they could take my queen, and then I would take this pawn with my pawn, and my bishop would be defending it, so they would have to run away with their bishop, and I would get the knight. I think that's it. That seems pretty complicated for me at my level, but I'm going to try it. Oh, it was that. Okay, well, the only thing that makes sense now is just to take the queen and then do this pawn fork and take the knight. All right, 2 in a row. I feel pretty good about that because I don't know that I got 2 in a row in my last 2 or 3 videos. I don't know why we shouldn't just move on to the next one. Let's do the third one. Okay, they have taken, what was that, a pawn, and they are threatening my bishop. What do I have? I do not have a check because my queen can't go through my pawn. I mean, maybe someday queens will figure out how to jump over pawns. I have a check down here that saves the bishop because my rook is defending that. That looks kind of spicy. Let's look at this. Bishop to f7 check. My queen's cutting off this. There's no way to block or take the bishop, so the king would be forced to come up one, and then I don't know what to do. Okay, let's think about this. Wait, I have other checks. Like, for example, the queen check here and here. Both of those seem bad. I also have the rook check here, which I think is a mate in 2. Oh my goodness, is that really? Because if I take this, they could just come up one. But then I go here, and that's checkmate. If they take the rook, I think this is checkmate because my bishop's cutting off that square. I'm going to do that. Yeah, I think this is checkmate right here. Oh, well, it's not then, is it? Oops. I forgot they could block with the queen, but I can bring my rook over here. That's still not checkmate, is it? Because they can block with the knight. But if they block with the knight, then I could take it. They would take with the pawn, then I would take the pawn with check, and they would have to block with the queen or move. No, they can't move over because of my bishop. They would have to block with the queen, and that's mate. I think I have to sacrifice the rook, which I normally don't think of. Oh, I forgot they could block with the bishop. Okay, well, I'm going to take it, and then I'm going to take that too, and then I'm going to check here, and it's not mate because, like I said, they have to block, but then it's mate in one. That's their only legal move, right? 18 points. Very nice. Okay, I'm doing much better. Analysis board. I just wanted to make sure that at the... Wow, that was long. Okay, at the end... Their only legal move is to block, and I only have one move that's mate. That's weird that the puzzle didn't keep going. Maybe they thought it was already long enough. Okay, yeah, that was 6 moves. Yeah, definitely when I went here, I forgot that after they took and I checked that they would be able to block with the queen. So that made it a lot more complicated than I thought at the beginning, because it was this and then this, and then I had to bring the other rook over, take the bishop, take the knight, take the pawn. I'm actually feeling really good about that one. And yes, I don't like that most of these videos depend on how I feel, but sometimes that's the case. Sometimes when you're not feeling great, you don't do well. And I need to get over that. Next puzzle. All right, this is the case that I was alluding to earlier when I said that if your material count is down, you might be looking for a mate. Here, I am down material, and it is an exchange, right? No, it's more than an exchange. Because the queen and the queen are equal, and the bishop are equal, and I'm down an exchange, plus they have an extra rook. So I'm down like 8 points of material, and my king looks like it could be checkmated very quickly. So here I'm probably almost certainly not looking to just pick up a piece by some tactic. I'm almost certainly looking for checkmate. So the question then is, how do I get this alleged checkmate? And we looked at both checks, possible checks with my queen. Neither one of those work. We looked at both possible checks with the knight, and neither one of those work. So I'm completely stuck. I have no idea what to do. I'm leaning toward the knight checks, but there's nothing that's recommending one over the other. Okay, I'm going to check knight to e3, and then we'll find out what I should have played on the analysis board. Yeah, it says you left your knight hanging. Yes, that's why I didn't want to play it, but I left something hanging no matter what I played, right? What in the world was the answer? For a second there, I thought king to e1, and that didn't make any sense, but that's the move that they should have made, but they did that instead. I had to play knight to h2. That was the other check that I thought of, but I'm not winning. It's drawn. Wait, this is a puzzle where I had to hold a draw? Oh my goodness. I've only ever had one puzzle like that, and it was on Lichess about 2 years ago. So I'm never looking to hold a draw, but that's what it says. Play knight to h2 to hold a draw, and they're going to come toward me. If they run away from me, it's really bad. Okay, then what's bad about them running away from me? Oh, because they're not defending the queen anymore. I did not see that, but I did see that they could go toward me and there's nothing. Now it says knight to f3 check, which is here. Okay, knight to f3 check. Sorry, can't they just take it? It says they would be really far behind if they just took it, because I would check here and win their queen, because they would move over and then I win their queen with check. And I assume they would take my bishop, and then I would get their rook, and I would have a queen for those two. Okay, wow. Okay, so let's see how the puzzle would have gone. If I restart, it had to be checking over here. They were going to come toward me. Then it had to be checking over here. They were going to go away. So am I supposed to repeat? I didn't look that far down the list. Okay. Oh my. I'm curious if anybody's still watching this video, how many times can you remember having a puzzle where the solution was to try to hold a draw? I'm very curious about that. Let me know, like, is it 1 time, 2 times, or have you had many of them? Because I'm positive this is only the second one I've ever had, and I'm pretty sure it's the first one I've ever had on chess.com in more than 2 years of playing chess on both sides. Well, something else to look out for then. Next puzzle, hopefully I can get something here. It'd be nice if I got more than 10 points, but probably not. Let's do a material count. I think I'm actually slightly ahead on material in this one, right? We both have queens, we each have a light squared bishop, and we each have a rook, but I have a rook over their bishop, so I'm actually slightly ahead on material. The only tactical motifs that I see here is that their bishop is pinned because of where my queen is. When a piece is pinned, we like to put pressure on the pinned piece, and one way to do that would be to move this bishop over here to h3. What would my opponent play if I put my bishop on h3? And don't think they can check me safely immediately. Okay, bishop to h3. They might... Yeah, I guess it's possible they could move their queen over one, which not only threatens my queen, but protects their bishop, so that if I took their bishop, they would take, and then I would take, and then I would just be up slightly. But now that the last puzzle was all about holding a draw, maybe that's it here, because holding a draw, like, really, should that ever be the answer in a puzzle? I don't know, maybe. Okay, let's say I play this. They go to here to protect the bishop, and the queen is also protected by the bishop in case I take it. Wait, if they did that, wouldn't I just take it? Because when they took back, then I would have checkmate. Okay, so let's try this again. What else can they do? They can move their dark squared bishop. They can move their dark squared bishop over here, say to A3, and then their rook is hitting my queen, and their bishop is pointed at down here at my F rook. Let's change the colors there for the threats. Red will be the threats. Blue is my move, yellow is their move, red is threats. So yeah, if I play bishop to H3, they could play bishop to A3, be threatening my queen. It's protected by their queen. Then I could come up here with my queen to F3, which threatens their queen. It's protected by this rook. And if they took the rook with the bishop, I would have mate. And if they took my queen with their queen, then I would go here with my rook. I'm definitely missing something. You know what I haven't looked for is checks. I did not look at the only check that I have in this position. What if I just take the bishop now? Maybe that's it, because of where my rooks are sitting. Okay, I take the bishop now. They are absolutely forced to take it. They don't have anywhere else to go. When they do take it, I come down here with this bishop, which is a check, and they can't come out because of my rook, so they would have to go back to where they are, but I still can't mate down here because of where their queen is. Okay, well, I thought I had it for a minute, but I'm going to play bishop to h3, and we'll find out what it should have been, and this video will be over. Okay, I had a really good start to this, but I petered out. My brain just did not have what it took for these. Oh, I didn't mean to hit start over. Was it taking the bishop? I didn't think so. I meant to hit the analysis board. Oh my goodness, I did it again. Was it this? Oh, wow. They gave up their queen for it. Now, that was the third thing I think that I never mentioned, but I thought about it. So they did this, which gives me a good lead. I actually had a very slight lead before that, and it says they should have checked me here. Am I reading that right? Their best move to keep it very close to even was giving up their queen for this pawn, and I have to take it. Then they're going to check here and win my queen when I get out of check, and we'll be very close to even. Okay, but instead they went over here instead of giving up their queen. Only one move. Wait, queen to C2 is my second best move. Well, I never would have thought of that. And I still would be ahead if I had played queen to c2. Okay, but rook to e1. I think that entered my mind at some point, but couldn't they just get out? Their best move is to take the rook. And their second best move is to go back to this. Okay, well, what if they had done that? And then I have to take, and then they check me, and I get out of check by going up to g6, and then they take my queen, and I take here, and then I'm ahead because I have a rook for a bishop. But that's not the way the puzzle went. The puzzle went... Let's go back to the beginning. Okay, they went there. The best move is this, and they gave up their queen for the rook. That's it. But they didn't have to give up their queen for the rook. Okay, well, I'm out of time because I have to take a kid to a doctor's appointment, and then there are several other things on the agenda after that. That's the way adulting works. Very often, there are things you have to do instead of things you want to do. I actually want to sit here for another 30 minutes and get this solid in my head, but that's not in the cards for me today. Thank you for spending your time here, and I'll see you next time.